Hi there, and welcome to Projects Distilled, the place where we talk about all things project management. I am glad that you're here. Today, we are going to be talking about artificial intelligence, specifically ChatGPT and GPT-4. GPT-4 is the latest iteration of ChatGPT. When you say ChatGPT, you're actually referring to GPT 3.5. So we are going to look at which one is better for project management, because we talk about all things project management here. The first thing to know about ChatGPT and GPT-4 is GPT-4 costs money. So I've signed up for it. I've been playing around with it. I've run it through some exercises to get an idea of what it can do. Now, Brad, isn't GPT-4 available if you use the Bing chat feature that Microsoft just announced? Yes, it is. But Microsoft has done some things, and my experience with GPT-4 filtered through the whole Bing thing and on Microsoft platform, it's not been that awesome. I haven't showcased it much on the channel because I find its answers to be kind of short and curtailed and just not that interesting. I want to see how the pure, unfiltered GPT-4 does on the tasks that I give it. So after paying my $20 a month fee and going into the ChatGPT-4 prompt, this is the first thing that I saw. That was a little bit disappointing. So when you pay up 20 bucks a month, it gets you access to ChatGPT-4, but not fully. It is limited. It's got some filters on it that keep us from using it extensively. So we're just going to be a little bit judicious in the way we use it. But it's interesting to note that you can choose which of the chat engines you want to use. So you can use legacy or the more recent ChatGPT 3.5 or GPT-4. So it's kind of cool. It allows you to select what you want. We've selected ChatGPT-4. So given that we have limited bandwidth, what's the very most important thing that we try? Well, we give it a joke. Let's ask it for a project management joke and see what it comes back with. So why did the project manager cross the road? Because they heard the chicken had finished its task on time and wanted to document lessons learned. I think that's fabulous. I love that joke. I may have to use it elsewhere. So ChatGPT-4 got a great sense of humor. Love it. One of the cool features about GPT-4 is that it is meant to be multimodal, meaning that with ChatGPT 3.5, it really only accepts text as an input, and it only gives text as an output. GPT-4, though, is supposed to be able to use images as an input and then give results back in text. So it can bring in other information that's not just text-based. So I looked for a button to see how do I do that. This is what I found. So yes, it's coming. It's not here now. Disappointed? Yes, I am. But I did find a way around it. So if you look at this, I have got I cut and pasted a link to the Wikipedia posting on Gantt charts, and actually specifically the picture that it had there for Gantt. And I asked ChatGPT 4.0, what is this image? And it actually gave me a description of what the image is. So I thought that that was kind of cool. So you can't really feed it images directly from your desktop, but you can feed it images from anything that's out there that has a URL. So that's not going to help you as a project manager unless the thing that you want it to analyze is publicly facing. Because right now, if you have a project plan and it's a graphic and you want it to take a look at that, you want it to ingest that, it can't unless that's out in the public domain. So that's going to be hard to do. There's privacy concerns with that. Hopefully that's coming soon. I also then went just for fun to see what it thought about my book. So I sent it to my website. This is what I got. So its data is current as of September 2021. My book came out in August 2021. I didn't have a website at that time. And so it has no idea who I am or what the book is about. And that's disappointing. But it will learn, it will grow, it will update. So now let's put it to the test on some real things. I have gone back and looked at the tests that we gave ChatGPT related to scope, related to risk, related to some other things, and we are going to look at how the answers in GPT-4 differ from those in GPT. All right, so the first test that I gave it was to input the same exact information that I had given ChatGPT previously. It's a list of almost 20 different tasks that we identified for a mythological project, moving users in a 4,000 person company from Microsoft Office to Google Workspace. So this is just a template that we've been using throughout some of our previous tests and our previous videos. How did it do? So here's the output from GPT-4, and you can see that it's got a fairly good explanation. You know, I don't really buy the duration. It has it, these are pretty quick. I don't see work happening that fast. That's been a flaw when we looked at GPT or ChatGPT, Bard, and the Bing versions. They all seem to underestimate the amount of work or overestimate the size of the team. I'm not giving it those variables. But what I like is if you look down at the end, it gives a much better window of how long the work will take. If we look at the original answer, it was about up to 60 something days. Here it's up to 83 days, and it's got more detail. I really like that it takes and it breaks down these, that the whole schedule depends on what has to happen sequentially and what can happen concurrently. And it gives some examples of things that could potentially happen concurrently. That's pretty cool. ChatGPT 3.5 did not give us that. It alluded to it, but gave us no examples. This is a richer answer. So well done, GPT-4. Let's move on and look at budgeting. I'm going to give it some basic budget information that I had previously given to ChatGPT and to Bard, and we're going to see how GPT-4 does with that information. And you can see that the information that I give it is pretty bare bones, so it has to do a lot of interpretation, but it does. It went and it broke down what the cost of potential licensing is, what the cost of potential consulting is, other expenses, and it came up with a number that is radically different than ChatGPT. If you look at this, it estimated the licenses at a much higher rate, at $16 per license, which is much more realistic for a company of 4,000 people. ChatGPT just used the cheapest rate, period, and went with it. It also took a look at the consulting needed, and the numbers are much bigger. That is much more in line with what my experience is. And the total budget is almost $1 million to move 4,000 people. I think that that's not out of the realm of reality. If you look at the original answer, it was much more conservative. Possible, depending on the size of the team, but I think that ChatGPT 4 uses a much better, more realistic way of looking at things just based on this experiment. So well done, GPT-4. Now let's take a look at how it deals with risk. So for this risk analysis, I gave it the same list of activities that I gave it for the first exercise we did, but I asked it this time to come up with a risk table. Now, for context, when I asked Bard this exact same question, Bard gave me 5 risks. When I asked ChatGPT this question, ChatGPT gave me 10 risks. GPT-4 has given me 12. And they're ordered quite differently, and there's a lot more nuance, and it's almost like talking to someone who's been there, done that. Take a look at this first risk that it identified. The first risk is inaccurate stakeholder identification. Well, that may not sound big, but in a project like this, where you're touching every member of the organization, you need to have the right stakeholders at the table, because if you get someone who has power and authority in the company who is not on board with what you're doing, that can throw an enormous wrench into the project. So I like that it identified that. The number 2 risk is an incomplete project charter. That is also problematic. If we're not looking at all of the scope that goes into the project, that can be a major problem. The number 3 risk, though, was the number 1 risk surfaced by both ChatGPT and Bard previously, and that's resistance to change. So ChatGPT 4 has brought a whole new sensibility about it and given us a lot to think about in terms of additional and more nuanced risk considerations. I like where its head is. So in this brief video, this brief examination of GPT-4 and what it can bring to project management, I see this as right now the best thing on the market if you want to start to use artificial intelligence. It can still make mistakes. Every answer it gives, it's going to give you some weasel language that, hey, you need to check this out for yourself. And I agree with that. You always have to use the logic test. However, the ability for it to be an assistant to you on your projects is big. So is it worth the $20 to pay up? Well, we'll see. I'm going to keep testing it. But so far, so good. I like what I'm seeing. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel so that I can bring you all sorts of good content around project management. Thank you for listening.